Welcome to this explainer. You probably started creating content just for fun, but what happens when it suddenly blows up? Well, today, we're transforming the often chaotic reality of digital content creation into a clear, legally protected, and highly profitable business playbook. Look, if you're treating your channel or your page like a hobby, that is perfectly fine. But if you want to turn it into a real enterprise, you've got to understand the underlying mechanics of intellectual property, global monetization, and corporate sponsorships. Okay, let's take a quick look at the agenda. We'll be hitting 1. Protecting your digital creations, 2. Choosing the right monetization, 3. Pitching brands and sponsors, 4. Navigating copyrights and takedowns, and 5. Scaling your creator business. This basically mirrors your exact life cycle as a creator, mapping out everything from securing your very first copyright to successfully dealing with international taxes and brand pitches. Section 1. Protecting your digital creations. Before you can sell anything, you absolutely must own it. So let's establish exactly how the law views your digital work right out of the gate. To understand ownership, we really have to look at how you're operating. As the Supreme Court of India has highlighted, and this is a real game changer, knowing whether you operate under a contract of service or a contract for service completely changes who legally owns the content you create. If you're under a contract of service, you're essentially an employee, like a staff video editor, right? Meaning the company likely owns the copyright. But if you're a freelancer hired to design a single thumbnail, well, that's a contract for service, which gives you vastly different leverage over your intellectual property. Now, the object test brilliantly illustrates how the law categorizes your creativity. It basically looks at the intent behind your work. If you draw an abstract design just for the sake of art, it has an independent existence and is protected by standard copyright. But if you create that exact same floral design with the explicit objective of having it mass-printed on upholstery fabric, it suddenly falls under industrial design law. The original objective behind creating the work is essential to determine the type of legal protection you actually get. So your intellectual property is secure, but how do you actually get paid for it, right? It's time to transition from legal theory to real-world revenue, because owning the rights to your work is literally only step 1. Turning those rights into a reliable cash flow is the whole point of step 2. Section 2, choosing the right monetization. Let's look at the actual platforms funding independent creators across the globe right now and how they navigate regional limitations. You really don't need a massive brand deal to start making money today. You can easily launch subscriptions or sell digital products using simplified platforms like Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-Fi. These platforms let your audience support you for the symbolic price of a beverage, which is super approachable. They're highly flexible, allowing you to accept one-time tips, build monthly membership income, or even sell digital downloads like ebooks or physical merch directly to your most loyal fans. Now, what's really fascinating about utilizing these tools is that you can't just be a phantom on the internet. You must formally register your business structure and legal operating country. Establishing yourself as a true professional entity, whether as a sole proprietorship or a registered company, is actually required by their financial partners like Stripe. It forces you to cross the bridge from casual poster to a legitimate, functioning business owner. But what if you hit a geographic wall? Say you're in Eastern Europe, specifically Armenia, Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, or Poland. You might think you're completely locked out of global crowdfunding platforms like GoFundMe because they don't support direct payouts there. However, there's a clever, fully compliant workaround. You can still access global capital by partnering with an individual or organization in one of the 20 supported countries. As long as they have a local bank account, a government ID, and a tax number, they can manage the administrative tasks and process the payouts for your project. Okay, so your platform is set up and your fans are tipping, but how do you find the big brand deals? Let's shift our focus to the engine of creator wealth, corporate sponsorships. Because while audience tips are great for sure, B2B revenue is how you truly scale the whole operation. Section 3, pitching brands and sponsors. Finding the right person to email at a brand is literally where amateurs get stuck and professionals thrive. Look, the crucial point here is that manually scraping YouTube about pages and solving endless CAPTCHAs works for small batches, but it's incredibly inefficient and frankly, it's exhausting. Scaling your business requires moving away from repetitive admin work. Serious teams use curated sponsorship databases that don't just give you an email address, but provide actual context around a brand's specific needs and historical spending. It saves massive amounts of staff time. Once you have that correct email, please do not treat the creator or brand manager like a mere list entry. Use this exact four-step framework to write an ethical, professional pitch that respects their time and actually gets a reply. 1. Show real selection by mentioning why their specific audience is a fit. 2. State clearly if this is a paid sponsorship or an affiliate deal. 3. Keep the ask small, like just requesting permission to send a rate card. And 4. Always maintain a business-like rather than overfamiliar tone. And remember, landing the deal means managing the taxes. I know, taxes are boring, but stay with me. For instance, if you're providing digital promotional services to an Indian brand, you are legally required to charge a flat 18% GST on that domestic supply. If your client is in the same state, you split that into 9% CGST and 9% SGST. If they're in another state, you just charge the full 18% as IGST. You've got to issue a compliant invoice and remit this to the government. Yes, it's the unglamorous reality of being a successful creator, but it keeps you from getting audited. So your channel is growing, it's monetized, you're landing sponsors. But what happens when a third party just steals your content? Success inevitably brings copycats, so we really need to understand your enforcement rights when your work is taken without permission. Imagine spending 40 hours on a video just to have someone else rip it off. No way! Section 4. Navigating copyrights and takedowns. Let's move into the defensive side of your business. Protecting your empire is just as important as building it. Get this. Back in 2007, the media conglomerate Viacom filed a staggering $1 billion lawsuit against YouTube. $1 billion! This highlights just how incredibly high the stakes are when intellectual property is infringed upon online. It proved once and for all that platforms cannot just turn a blind eye to stolen content. If they don't act, they risk total financial ruin. And don't make the mistake of assuming that nonprofit or humorous intent protects you. Actually, scratch that. It definitely doesn't protect you. Using unauthorized assets, even as viral memes like the surprise Pikachu or Tumblr's gold star sticker, can lead to aggressive legal action. Companies have actively instituted copyright infringement suits against platforms for these exact types of viral reaction images. If you need to issue a takedown because someone stole your video, remember that platforms escape liability through the DMCA only if they follow these strict steps. They must not have actual knowledge, they can't directly profit from the theft, and, crucially, they must respond expeditiously to remove the content once you notify them. This legal framework is essentially your superpower. It gives you the direct leverage you need to force platforms to take down your stolen work. Section 5. Scaling your creator business. Tracking every single person who uses your work across the entire internet is literally impossible for one person, so let's look at how the pros handle it at scale. Enter collective management organizations, or CMOs. By joining a CMO, you essentially hire an entire global agency to monitor radio stations, cafes, and streaming platforms globally to ensure you get paid every time your work is played. It's a highly efficient way to manage collective administration and ensure you receive your royalty share without disrupting your creative workflow. These organizations act as the great balancers, heavily simplifying the licensing process for end users while ensuring creators receive their rightful administrative shares without endless lawsuits. Prior to these societies, anyone wanting to use a work had to hunt down the individual creator for a unique contract, which was total chaos and often just led to mass infringement. Finally, you've got to plan for the life cycle of your assets. Copyright isn't forever, and you know what? That's okay. It's just the natural life cycle of art. For example, broadcast reproduction rights last for 25 years from the year of the first broadcast, before the work enters the public domain. Once it's there, anyone can freely utilize the content without seeking permission, completely reshaping the long-term value of your catalog. So what does this all mean for you? Are you treating your channel as a casual creative outlet or as a legally protected, aggressively monetized digital enterprise? Because as we've seen today in this explainer, the tools to protect and profit from your work are out there, waiting for you to use them. The choice to step up and claim your worth as a creator is entirely yours. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I challenge you to implement just one of these business strategies today.